We haven't yet passed our bill. They haven't yet passed their bill. We've evaluated where their thinking is, and the idea of compromise is look where their thinking is, look where our thinking is, propose something that they should be able to accept. And so we're today going to vote a bill that we believe the Senate should accept based on their likely negotiation. Now, if the Senate wants to say my way or the highway, then I suggest that Senate Republicans not go along with that strategy, but rather with a strategy that the House and Senate can vote on and that can become law.
All right, that was Congressman Darrell Issa earlier today talking about the new House plan to fund the government and raise the debt ceiling. The White House coming out today calling that proposal a, quote, partisan attempt to appease a small group of Tea Party Republicans. Let's ask Congressman Louie Gohmert of Texas about all of this. He is a member of the House Tea Party caucus. Hi, Congressman.
Hey, Allison.
Where are you with all of this? Is there a consensus, or is the plan that you all came up with, that Darrell Issa just talked about, just going to be shut down in the Senate?
Well, it's nice for Harry Reid and the president to talk about extremists and trying to placate a small group. If you're talking about 60% of Americans who didn't want Obamacare, who still don't want Obamacare, yeah, it's small group, 60%. They gave us the majority in 2010 because of Obamacare, and the only reason Obama is still president is because we nominated a man who did a Obamacare program in Massachusetts.
But Congressman,
so he couldn't really talk
given
about
all
it.
that, sorry to interrupt, but given all of that, you have not been able, and the latest plan does not defund or dismantle or delay Obamacare. So even though you don't like it, we're back almost at the same point that we were before this battle.
Well, and they've said elections have consequences, and that's why a majority in the House should be assigned to the Senate, that we need to negotiate. And, Allison, we have sent over compromise after compromise after compromise with ourselves. Our own leadership proposed yet another compromise, and Harry Reid said all of a sudden he thinks that's a slap at bipartisanship. He wouldn't know bipartisanship if it came up and slapped him and said we're bipartisan, because he has never participated in any kind of bicameral bipartisanship. And in fact, you go back to Obamacare, without a single Republican vote, they didn't even allow any Republican input, and they put Waxman in the chair to make sure they didn't happen. If they'd had John Dingell remain in the chair, he was going to allow some Republican input. So I don't need to hear any crap from Harry Reid about bipartisanship. He doesn't know bipartisanship, nor does the president. And by the way, with these meetings, please understand the difference between a meeting and a negotiation, because a meeting is what the president's had. The first one, he said, we will not negotiate. I just wanted to remind you of that, and basically said the same thing. In his next meeting, a negotiation still has not occurred because the mainstream media is covering for the administration. But we, Allison, we're standing for fairness. We want equal treatment across the country. If it's good enough to give the businesses a waiver for a year, give every American a waiver for a year. If it's this bad, if every American has to be under it, the president, the Supreme Court, every member of Congress ought to be under it.
And I know that that's what your plan is calling for. I mean, your plan is calling for the president and the vice president to have to adhere to the same Obamacare rules, but that's not what the Senate plan has come up with. And as you know, you have to marry the two. One of your fellow congressmen called the Senate plan, the senators who put together, the Republican senators who put together their plan, he called it the Senate Surrender Caucus, because it doesn't include that. Do you agree with that language?
Well, I just know that the Senate has not done anything to bring both sides to the table, because the fact is we nominated before the shutdown. We said we will send our conferees. That's what the law requires. They still to this day have not been willing to appoint negotiators, conferees, because that was our last bill as the shutdown was beginning. Look, just have negotiators come meet with us like the law requires. They wouldn't do it. And one other thing, this debt default, if the president instructs the Treasury Secretary to, though the money is there to pay interest, if he instructs him to default, I think we're getting close to a high crime crime and misdemeanor that would harm this country. And so
well,
I think we got a real problem there. And another thing, the debt interest does not even come due until the end of this month. October 17th was totally fabricated by this administration.
All right, Congressman Louie Gohmert, thanks so much for that status report. It does not sound as though you're very close there in the House to sorting it all out, but we hear you.
We want to negotiate. We got to send negotiators to talk to us, and no is not a negotiation.
Got it. Congressman, thank you.